With us now, columnist for Business Week, Suzy Welch, who's also the author of the new book, 10-10-10, A Life-Transforming Idea.
Barnacles in it.
Suzy.
Did you know that, Barnacle, before this moment?
The book is fabulous, and I'll tell you why. Because you read it and you realize your priorities have been skewed throughout your life. You should think in terms of what people are going to think about you in 10 minutes, 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years.
All right, well, you just killed Hamlet in the first act. Suzy, I was going to ask you what the book was
Suzy
about,
Welch,
but Barnacle just did it for you.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you later. Say hi to Jack for us.
Yeah.
Tell us about the book.
10-10-10. All right, 10-10-10 is a way of making decisions that can change your life. It's about thinking about the consequences of your decisions in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years, and comparing them to your values and how you want to live. Like, what life do I want to create? And that way, you end up, through 10-10-10, building a life that you are living rather than having your life live you.
Talk about the 10 minutes. Why do I care what people think of me in 10 minutes?
You know, because we live by that. We react to expedience. Somebody's going to pout. Your boss is going to be mad. Your wife is going to scream at you. It's going to hurt too much to do something. We live in the 10 minutes, and so you think about it because you want to get past it.
We focus too much on 10 minutes?
We tend to. I mean, I think people tend to either live in the 10 minutes or the 10 years, which is I'm doing this because I'm trying to build X, Y, and Z, and often we don't hover in that middle.
Talk about the middle. Talk about the 10 months.
You know, the 10 months is after the dust of the initial decision has settled and you're sort of living its consequences. The key is not to choose which one of these you want to live by, but to balance them and to say, given my values, given how I live, given the life I want to create for myself, which decision is the right one, fulfilling each one of the requirements in each one of those time frames.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well,
so now you've been using this sort of concept of thinking for 14 years?
14 years. I started 14 years ago because I was at the time a young working mother. I had 4 kids, and I was a senior editor at the Harvard Business Review. I was invited to give a speech to a bunch of insurance executives in Hawaii. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. Someone wants to hear what I have to say. It must be very important. So I went. But to make it easier on the home front, I brought 2 of my kids, and it was a disaster. One of the kids got sick. You can imagine. Then what happens is I'm giving the main keynote speech to the insurance executives. I warehouse my children in a hula dancing class to get them out of the way. They make a jailbreak. And they come and they find me in the conference room. They burst in the back door and run towards the stage as I'm giving the speech. And that, I mean, it was a...
Oh, that's a bad confluence of events.
It's the Brady Bunch.
There's a lot of mess thrown in.
So how did you learn from that to come up with this concept of 10-10-10?
I realized at that moment, like a lot of people who got a lot of responsibilities, something had to give me a system to move forward. I needed an operating principle, and I came up with 10-10-10. I couldn't change the past. I could try to change the future by making my decisions proactively and strategically, one decision at a time. I could build the life I wanted to build. And I started using 10-10-10. I didn't think it was going to change my life. I just thought I need something. And I started using it, started working. So I started using it at work. Yes,
How does it apply? How does 10-10-10 apply to someone like yourself, a working woman with a couple of kids, when outside events, say the economy, collapses and forces an expedited decision? How does 10-10-10 apply?
I'm not sure it forces an expedited decision. I think that it is especially relevant as the economy is collapsing because there's so much sense that you have to accelerate your decisions, and there's so much more pressure, and we start making more of our decisions sort of on gut. You say, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to do X or Y. You can slow down a little bit and you can say, let's really unpick what we know and what we don't know, what I care about, and what life I want to build given the circumstances. Instead of, the world is sort of rocking all over the place, it doesn't mean you can't make good decisions. You think you can't, but you can if you've got a framework.
It's actually not bad for economic policy also, because if you're trying to run the budget, you make a decision right now what's going to be good for politics, but you better think what's it going to look like in 10 months with $1.8 trillion deficits. What's it going to be like in 10 years? And so it's actually not a bad principle of, you have to take different time horizons to judge what you're doing.
And what happens in politics is politicians trying to get reelected just tell people what they want to hear about the 10 minutes and sometimes the 10 months. But what kind of America are we building with certain decisions that we're making right now? I mean, I think you're right. It's application in politics and economic policy.
Unfortunately, politically, I really do. I think it's 2-2-2. How this is going to affect me in 2 minutes, 2 months, and then in 2 years when my party's up for election.
Exactly.
And the economy better be good in 20 to 24 months, or else we're in trouble. How did your life change? Talk about You have all of these things lined up that you want to do. What were the ones that you sloughed off, that you said, enough, I'm not going to do that?
You know, what happened was I thought that I could have all my priorities be equal, okay? That is sort of the problem that we have. I really want to be a good parent. I really want to be a good employee. I want to be a good boss. I want to be a good daughter, sister. And I had them all equal. And what changed when I started using 10-10-10 was I had to start making some decisions about what the rank ordering was. That's the hard part of this deceptively simple idea, is you have to have this very candid conversation with yourself about what's possible and what you want. If you had, because you can't be all things all at the same time. Everybody who's lived it for a while knows that. And what happens is 10-10-10 is really useful when your life collides, when work and children collide, or parenting and work collide, or you know, whatever. Right at that intersection, you end up trying to please everybody. And then what happens is everyone is happy but you. And that you can start to avoid if you just say, look, you know, there was a period in my life when my kids were young where my work really mattered. And I kept on trying to pretend that I could do it all. I had to finally say to my kids, look, work really matters. And I'm going to make some decisions that are good for work. And once I could say that and have the honest conversation with them and everyone,
and yourself
and myself, that's the hard part. But
yeah, no, that's I think a struggle of a modern woman.
Right,
is admitting that sometimes one thing has to come into focus more than the other, and sometimes it is work.
They can't always all be equal. It's not sustainable.
Oh, Suzy Welch, 10-10-10, I love it, and Dr. Jeffrey Sachs, thanks very much for coming on the show. Great.